Hey, what's up, YouTube? Back with California Propositions number 34. This is a good one. The Death Penalty Initiative Statute. So 34 repeals the death penalty and replaces it with life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, and applies retroactively to existing death sentences. Directs 100 million of law enforcement agencies, directs 100 million to law enforcement agencies for investigations of homicide and rape cases. Fiscal impact: ongoing state and county criminal justice savings of about 130 million annually within a few years, which could vary by tens of millions of dollars. One-time state costs of 100 million for local law enforcement grants. So a yes on this vote would mean that no offenders could be sentenced to death under state law. Offenders who are currently under a sentence of death would be resentenced to life without the possibility of parole. The state would provide a total of 100 million in grants to local law enforcement agencies over the next 4 years. So, okay, I don't have a problem with the death penalty. I don't have a problem with the death penalty at all. I think that if someone is found guilty of a particularly heinous murder, that we should almost have an express lane, like they do in Texas, that gets them to that whatever ends that they deserve as fast as possible. Of course, you have appeals and you can do all that, but the cost should be this much instead of the normal this much. A no vote would be that certain offenders convicted of murder could continue to be sentenced to death. The status of offenders currently under a sentence of death would not change, and the state would not be required to provide local law enforcement agencies with additional grant funding. That last part's really the trick of this whole thing, isn't it? So Proposition 34 is called the death penalty proposition. But what it's really doing is, if you say yes to 34, you're also granting our government to spend $100 million to then further investigate cases of homicide and rape. Many, many times I have debated with people that are anti-death penalty that it will be cheaper if we just banned the death penalty and let the individuals that have committed heinous crimes serve out their life basically behind bars. The problem with this proposition is we're not getting any of the discount of that. We're not seeing the cost return to us. It says, yes, we will get 130 million annually, but it says within a few years. So the cost value of money, I'd rather have 100 million in my pocket now than 130 million in a few years from now. Reason? You can do more with 100 million now than you can that 130 million years down the line that you can't even technically quantify in terms of the value that it will fluctuate up and down. So this is another one of those where I'm pretty clearly against. I am voting no on 34, but for the sake of it, let's hear the pros and con arguments from the Voter's Guide SOS. And actually, we've got some interesting number stuff to back some of the backers that have been paying for this. 34 guarantees will never execute an innocent person by replacing California's broken death penalty with life in prison without possibility of parole. It makes killers work. It makes killers work and pay court-ordered restitutions of victims. 34 saves wasted tax dollars and directs 100 million to law enforcement to solve rapes and murders. So basically it's saying we will take the money that we will have paid to murder. See, I'm using their vernacular against my own point. It would take that 100 million that we would have saved by executing individuals that are guilty and putting it back into the law system, which I'm not saying it doesn't belong there, but when we're this broken economically, we might need to put that back in the bank or into any of our other debts that we have going. The con view would be California is broke. Prop 34 cost taxpayers 100 million over 4 years and many million more long term. Taxpayers would pay at least $50,000 annually, giving lifetime health care, housing to killers who tortured, raped, and murdered children, cops, mothers, and fathers. DAs, sheriffs, and police chiefs say no. That's pretty clear for me. Leia, who have been some of the top payees into 34, the pro side?
Nicholas J. Pritzker, who is a member of the Pritzker family, who owns Hyatt Hotel Group and he's the CEO of Hyatt Development Corporation.
So he's the number one investor, basically. Not investor, but
$1 million.
$1 million.
Right. He's tied with. Let me see. He is tied with the Atlantic Advocacy Fund, but it's important to note that Pritzker's wife is on the board of Mother Jones.
Right. So if this was a liberal v conservative proposition, this would be the clear-cut case. The yes on Proposition 34 is the liberal, and the no would be the conservative in this case. But
The
it's pretty
third
black and
biggest
white.
donor, though, is
Third
the
biggest?
ACLU.
Okay.
Then farther down the list are 3 unions: the California State Council of Service Employees, the BICS, and California Teachers Association.
So, here, let me throw something back in towards 32. Why are our unions putting money in to a proposition that has nothing to do with the people, like teachers? How does that help the kids? How did the kids get a better education because rapists and murderers are not getting executed any longer? Vote yes on 32 and vote no on 34, guys. I think this is a clear-cut one, right? We're good?
Yes.
All right. Take it easy. 35 is next.